In the last two videos, we took a look at the processes of photosynthesis and respiration. So in this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about some comparing and some contrasting of those two processes. So let's take a look and let's see if we can figure out what is the connection between photosynthesis and respiration. Well, in order to do that, we have to look at the formulas. So in the last two videos, we talked about the raw materials and the products of both photosynthesis and respiration. So let's take a look at those both together. So if we look at photosynthesis first, we know that it takes carbon dioxide, but we didn't talk in the last videos about how many. So for photosynthesis, we actually need 6 carbon dioxide molecules. We combine that with 6 water molecules. So you see the C's and the O's and the H's. So the C stands for, well, the element carbon, so that's carbon atoms. The O's, oxygen, and the H's, hydrogen. Now, of course, we still need light energy in order to make this process occur. Alright, so we're going to yield, in the presence of light energy, glucose, which is made of 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. And we have that waste product of oxygen, and there's 6 of them. So you'll notice that oxygen is represented as O2. So there's actually 2 atoms stuck together for the oxygen in the air that we breathe. Alright, so let's see how that compares to cellular respiration. Now what you will notice is that they're basically opposite formulas. So the raw materials, which are over here on this side of the arrow, are the products of the opposite formula of cellular respiration. And the products of photosynthesis are going to be the raw materials for respiration. So let's take a look at that, okay? So cellular respiration, if you remember, is the process by which we combine simple food molecules like glucose and oxygen from the air we breathe, and we yield or produce, well, primarily energy, and then we have those 2 waste products of carbon dioxide and water. Now what I want you to realize is photosynthesis took light energy. That's one of the differences. So there is energy used, and it's light energy. Respiration, there's energy produced. Now it's not light energy, and that's pretty easy to understand when you think about animals. We don't give off light when we eat and breathe. So we don't go in the dark, as cool as that would be. So both these processes belong to a larger process, and it's known as a cycle. So let's see a picture of a cycle. No, not that kind of cycle. Well, that's cooler. It's still not the right cycle, though. A cycle, there we go, like a circle. Okay, so what's a cycle? Well, it's something that really doesn't have a beginning or end point, but it's a process that just keeps going around and around and around and around, and it really doesn't ever stop. So let's connect to some of your prior knowledge. So what have you learned prior to this year, prior to this video? Well, at some point you learned that animals breathe in oxygen, like a horse is an animal. And then animals breathe out carbon dioxide, right? So what happens next? Well, then that carbon dioxide is used by plants. They take that in, okay? And then those plants take and they give off oxygen. And then the animals breathe in that oxygen, and then the plants take in the carbon dioxide that the animals breathed out, then the plants give off oxygen, and then the animals breathe in the oxygen, and then the animals breathe out carbon dioxide, and the plants take in the carbon dioxide, and the plants produce oxygen, and the animals... Alright, we'll stop there. Alright, I'm going to scream just like this monkey. So we're part of a cycle that just never ends. So the animal's breathing in the oxygen and the animal's breathing out the carbon dioxide. That is due to a very specific process. So let's see what you have learned. What is the process that we're involved in with animals breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide? If you said respiration, very good. Alright, so let's take a look at the other side of this. So plants taking in carbon dioxide and then producing oxygen. What's the process we're talking about here? Photosynthesis. Very good. Alright, so let's talk about new knowledge. So I'm going to put some new information in your head. Alright, so we've talked about photosynthesis and respiration, and we talked about some different organisms, at least that conduct photosynthesis. So let's talk about the ones that can conduct respiration. So I'm going to expand your knowledge of this back and forth with oxygen and carbon dioxide. So not just animals, but fungi, some protists, and some bacteria take in oxygen in the process of respiration. So we have animals, fungi, protists like this amoeba, and bacteria. Alright, now those same organisms, animals, fungi, some protists, and some bacteria, produce carbon dioxide through respiration. Moving along, right? Plants, which we already learned about, algae, so the other types of protists, and the rest of those bacteria, okay, they take in carbon dioxide. So plants, algae, and autotrophic bacteria. And then they give off oxygen in the process of photosynthesis. And then we have that nice cycle that's going on again. And that is called the carbon and oxygen cycle. So that's all part of that larger cycle. So plants and other autotrophs, things that can conduct photosynthesis, are very important to the heterotrophs, the things that cannot photosynthesize, because they give them oxygen for respiration. Those organisms that can't conduct photosynthesis are very important too, the ones that can conduct photosynthesis, because they provide them with carbon dioxide. So that's part of the bigger picture of the carbon and oxygen cycle.